Hi, Anne.
Hi, Amina. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Call Your Girlfriend.
A podcast for long-distance besties everywhere. This week on our agenda, we'll be talking about the midterm elections, Taylor Swift and Beyonce updates. We'll have a rapid fire where we catch up on everything we've missed on the internet, including Ebola and Jian Ghomeshi, and everything you need to know about when women boxers menstruate.
I love it.
Call your girlfriend. It's time you had the talk. Give your reasons. Say it's not her fault. But you just met somebody new.
I feel like we have to start with the midterms.
Sure, we can start with the midterms. Obviously, I just got back from DC working on election stuff, and election night was very, very depressing, but also very predictable.
The only kind of crimson wave we don't like.
Right? Yeah, Mother Jones had like an incredible graphic for this, where it's just this like red tidal wave. I was like, well done, graphic departments at Mother Jones. But yeah, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's like abortion and women lost like everywhere. So the worst state to live in the country, I think, is probably Tennessee. Yeah, so it's like, have fun if you live in Tennessee, you know, but then there's also all this like crazy stuff. What's her name? The Iowa woman, Joni Ernst.
Okay, this is striking really, really close to my heart.
And that woman, that's like the woman who thinks that like you get Ebola from Twitter and like she's going to be in Congress now. I want to like tear my hair out.
I mean, this is a woman who wants to abolish the Environmental Protection Agency. And I don't know, I see women like her and I'm like, you don't have 10 million kids. How can you be super, super anti-choice? Because obviously you've used contraception, like at some point in your life. Otherwise you would be having babies and caring for them all the time, not being a crazy person running for the Senate.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. In North Carolina, they also pushed through like 1 million restrictions on abortion access. Scott Walker like went crazy and signed all these restrictions also, even though he like positioned himself as a moderate and he got reelected. Like,
good, nice try, Scott Walker, but also like actual nice try, the worst.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, but also none of it was unexpected. So I think that, you know, that's what like tempers like how upset I am. But I just can't handle this like every 2-year cycle of like we're ecstatic, and then 2 years later it's like like they're taking away everything.
Well, but the real talk is like women did not vote in as great of numbers as we did 2 years ago or even 4 years ago in the midterms. Like, that is the sad truth.
Young people didn't vote. You know, like, I always stand up for millennials because they're my people, but this was really depressing to see. It was, you know, like, it was in the teens. It's like, come on. Yeah. Texas was the most depressing place to see. So women voted against Wendy Davis, like 65%. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, I guess it should be crazy, but I'm also like, Texas is a special, unique place where I don't understand. I mean, I feel like I understand people who are like Texas people with lots of connections elsewhere. Like deep Texas people, I sometimes am just like, I don't know you.
You know, well, it's my adoptive state, so clearly I care a lot, but also there's idiots everywhere in Congress. I mean, but the one thing that made me like so mad throughout the entire night is how there are all these stories of 100 women in Congress.
Oh
finally.
My God.
Like, we don't know how to do math. There's 535 legislators, homie. Like, that's still less than 19%.
Also, can I just tell you, I'm doing a knuckle bite right now because basically before this one special election in North Carolina was decided, there were 99. It's not like this is some landslide where it's like, woohoo, we broke 100 with like a significant influx of women. This is like one additional woman. Like the number overall. Yeah. I
don't know if they're like, you ladies are really into 100-calorie packs of food, like, so you'll care about this, or you
For
don't
shame.
or you don't know how to math. I was so upset at that. Like, there are no women in Congress. Like, don't be fooled.
And I totally took the clickbait on that, like, at least 3 times, because I was waiting for someone to explain to me why this matters. I was like, maybe I'm missing something for why this 100 number is so awesome. And I honestly gave many outlets clicks that they did not deserve because I kept trying to figure it out.
That's how they get you, Anne. They're just like, big round number. Woman will fall for it. Like, that's exactly what happened.
I mean, like, how many You Go Girls shares on Facebook did they get for that non-news? The worst.
I was so infuriated, and people I know kept sharing it. I was like, are you kidding? Like, do you know how to math? Like, this is not good.
I mean, yes. And meanwhile, it's like, okay, well, maybe, depending the outcomes of a few races that I haven't checked in on since this morning, there could be as many as 105 women in Congress, which is still, like, kind of an uptick, but is also not super notable and not that dramatic a change. And, you know, I couldn't find a quote about this, but Nancy Pelosi has been saying for a long time, we've got more than 100 women in Congress because she counts non-voting delegates. Good math,
Please.
Nancy.
You know we love Eleanor Holmes Norton, but, like, she has no power.
I know. I mean, she's great. We love her. Also, who's the... Is she still around? I'm sorry, I confess to have not kept up with DC representation.
Who, Eleanor?
Eleanor, yeah?
Eleanor around. She around. Remember that time we saw her at the bar and she had that, like, great lipstick and she was, like, chugging many beers?
She was toasty.
She was very toasty. Total babe.
And you fangirled and she was awesome.
Oh my god. Love you, Eleanor.
It's true. But, you know, so the thing about the midterms that also bothers me is that it's... The articles about, like, what the election means for women or what the election means for whatever your particular issue is, like, come out before there's meaningful information about, like, committee assignments or things that will actually affect the issues. And by the time all that stuff happens, it's only super nerds who are watching. I feel like there's no solve to that, because that's just, like, you know, a problem with the internet. But I always get very frustrated.
But also, like, people are terrible. Like, go vote. In some countries, you get fined for not voting. When I'm king, you'll have to pay, like, $1 million taxes to not vote. Like, it drives me crazy that people that I know don't vote. So there's all the journalists who are like, we don't vote because we're, like, journalists and nonpartisan. And I'm like, everybody knows how you vote by your tweets. Like, I don't give a shit about you.
Right. Also, you work for internet journalism. No one cares.
And then there's all these people who just have, you know, like, I'm like, whatever. If you don't have children and you don't need childcare... Like, you know, like, I will let slide all of, like, real America problems.
Let me tell you what would make me not
But
want
if
to
you
vote.
are a coastal elite and you can't take an hour out of your day to go to some high school gym and vote, like, seriously, like, die in a fire.
Right. I found out that if you vote by absentee ballot, which I usually do, you can take your absentee ballot into the polling place and still get the fucking sticker, which I have felt alienated from the Graham Your Voting sticker process for quite some time.
I don't even want to talk about why you have to vote absentee, but I'm happy that you vote.
I don't have to vote absentee. I just do it so I remember.
It's just... There's just, yeah. I can't wait to be king. I'm just going to crack down on all of this.
Wait, are you telling me that I am not legit voting if I vote absentee?
No, I'm not telling you that you're not legit voting, but I think it's interesting that you don't vote in the state that you live in.
I do know. I transferred to California.
Oh, you transferred? I'm so happy for you. Mazel tov. Never mind. I walk back past criticisms.
Although if any year I was going to hang on to my Iowa voter registration, like, this would have been the year.
Oh, I want it for all of you lazy people who don't know how to keep up with elections. I really want to plug Turbo Vote. It's a great little app. It's basically Netflix for voting. There is no reason for you to not be on top of your shit.
Turbo Vote is what got me to register in California.
That's right. Yeah, and our friend Katie Peters is the founder, so you should holler at Turbo Vote. They do everything right.
I'm gonna be the main event like no king was before. I'm brushing up on looking down. I'm working on my roar.
Thus far, rather uninspiring thing.
Oh, I just can't wait to be
if you think.
Wait, talk to me. You were telling me about a new Beyonce album? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. I was hoping that you could clear this up for me because
I don't know, Anne. I've been really hard at work. I don't have time for rumors right now.
I know. I love that you've been paying attention to the midterm elections and therefore unable to answer my pressing Beyonce questions. So there was like a leaked piece of paper that like was supposedly very official looking with like her company and like some other record label logo at the top, but it honestly looked like a Xerox from the 90s, like the kind of thing I did worksheets on like when I was a kid, with a track listing. And lots of investigative reporters looked up the tracks and found that like Beyonce had registered them and were like, OMG, there's a new album, basically part 2 of the self-titled album.
So like just in time for Thanksgiving, so you can nori your entire
Thanksgiving,
family.
yes.
Thanksgiving, okay.
But Beyonce truther / like superfan internet is a place where I tend to only dip a tiny pinky toe. And so I was really, I confess that I was relying on you to just be like, obviously there's an album. Or are you kidding? That looks like a mimeograph that's not real.
You're like, here's a leaked Post-it.
I mean, kind of.
I saw it on World Star News.
Vulture looked up the song Donk featuring Nicki Minaj. It seems like Beyonce would want to get on the booty train. It is actually registered.
Oh my god. Okay. So keeping fingers and toes crossed for Baysgiving. Also, I'll just admit that I've really been into like Taylor Swift world right now, so I just am not paying attention to anyone.
Okay, well, major business news out of Tay Swift world this week as well.
Well, yeah, she like pulled all her shit from Spotify. And also she sold like more than 1 million albums, which is more than everybody thought she was going to do.
I know this doesn't affect you as a vinyl-only Taylor superfan.
Well, I don't know how to tell you. The vinyl for 1989 doesn't come out until the holidays. Trust me, I called. I'm very upset. Half of my vinyl collection is Taylor Swift.
I have a confession for you right now, which is that I was at the Nashville airport a month and a half ago, and they definitely had for sale a Taylor Swift blanket throw, and I said to myself, I'll buy that for Amina on my way home, and then I almost missed my flight, and so I didn't buy it for you, and I feel really bad.
I don't know. I'm about to hang up on this podcast and never, like, okay.
This is why I'm telling you with other listeners so that you can't actually excise me from your life forever.
I don't think you have ever hurt my feelings more than this very moment.
You know, or this could be a great wind-up for you, and then, like, it'll just arrive on your doorstep, and you'll be like, oh, who would have thought?
Yeah, no, I love Tay Swizzle. She just announced her tour. I'm deciding what city I want to see her in.
Ooh, what's in the running?
I saw her in Philly last year, and it was fantastic. And I just made like a weekend out of it. I need to see if she's playing in Miami, because I want to have like a Florida situation. So who knows? But I'm definitely going. I'm going to cry so hard. Last time when I went with our friend Phoebe, and we were definitely the only 2 women there, like, without children. So it's like me and Phoebe, you know, like, we're besties, and then all these other, like, 9-year-old besties together. And, yeah, I learned more about tweens in that, like, 5-hour span than, like, anything my entire life.
I sort of understood the Taylor Swift appeal to teens. I heard her on NPR last week, and I forget who the interviewer was, but she was definitely mom vibes, like, I'm with Taylor Swift, you know, and she was saying something like, my 12-year-old daughter, a super fan, wrote this question. And at the end of the interview, interestingly, she asked her this question where she was like, so it's this many albums in, do you ever think about turning your lens outward and writing about things other than yourself? And Taylor was like, what do you mean? And she
yeah, I mean, that's the correct answer.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
And I was like, no one briefed this NPR host on personal as political. Anyway, and
you know, the thing about going to that show that was so weird is that, like, you know, clearly Phoebe and I are like, you know, like, we have enough disposable income that we can go to, like, this teeny bopper concert and, like, have a great weekend in Philly, and everything is, like, fine, right? And then I look at these families where it's like 4 kids and 3 cousins, and like the mom looks exhausted and the dad is like, what the fuck am I doing here?
And they took out a
then they were
second
also-
mortgage to be there, like the Taylor Swift
Right,
mortgage.
and then you have the like older like high school girls, college girls who are there with their boyfriends, and all of the boyfriends look like, ugh, if I suffer through this, I'm definitely getting laid when we get home. And, you know, but one thing that was really disturbing, it made me feel like such an old person, and just realize that I don't have like babies and like teens and tweens in my life, was seeing like a 10-year-old with a shirt that's like, we're never ever getting back together, or I hate my ex-boyfriend, or whatever. And I was like, you don't have these kind of problems. Like, I barely have like Taylor Swift kind of problems. This is crazy.
I mean,
And I just, yeah, the whole time I was like, I don't know, man. If this was my 9-year-old, I don't think you would be here as side boobin, like singing about your ex-boyfriend.
oh my God, totally. You would let your 9-year-old.
Anne, I don't think you know me.
Strict parents, really? Like,
I'm gonna be like the strictest parent. My parents are African. I'm sorry, I can't betray that.
I mean, I know.
You gotta crack down until they're 18, and then when you're 18, you can go buck wild.
Singing along to songs about boyfriends and like revealing 9-year-old side boob are like not the same thing.
And this is how I know that the immigrant experience is foreign to you. But let's keep chugging along here.
Oh wait, but
I've just like exposed myself.
It's fine.
For like being a crazy, just like very conservative on the inside person.
One final note
it's cool.
about the appeal of Taylor Swift. So at the end of this NPR interview, she's like, I will say, ably shakes off this stupid allegation that she should be writing.
Shake it
like,
off?
That's what I'm saying. About world peace or something, and not about her boyfriends. And when she says goodbye to the interviewer, you know, she's like, "Thanks, Taylor." She goes, "Thanks. Say hey to hey, what's up to your daughter for me?" or something like that. Where I'm just like, oh my God, like that 12-year-old is like, Taylor Swift says, "Hey, what's up?" And I loved it, and I was like, this is why these girls
so
love
good.
you.
She's so good. I saw somebody ask her for a picture once, and she grabbed their phone and took a selfie instead. And I was like, this is why you are on top of the world.
Support.
Yeah, no, that's like the number one item on my bucket list for 2K15 is selfie with Tay Swizzle.
I love
it's
it.
gonna happen. Okay, now that you know too much about my Taylor situation.
My Taylor situation.
My Taylor situation. I mean, it's like borderline obsessive. I'm like very unreasonable about it, and I unfollowed 2 people on Twitter for like making fun of her last week. So there you go.
I mean,
Yeah, 'cause the players gonna play, and the haters gonna hate, I'm just gonna shake, I shake it up, I shake it up. Players gonna break, and the haters gonna I'm just gonna shake.
Hey, Anne, I went to callyourgirlfriend.com and it looks different.
oh my God, listen, I gave us such an upgrade. I use Squarespace and now all of our shit looks so good.
I am so impressed. It's like the website looks shiny and new, and more importantly, the shop has launched.
Oh my God. Squarespace has all this commerce functionality that is making it, I won't say easy because nothing is ever easy when you are a micro business like CYG, but making it as easy as possible for us to sell stuff and look good while we do it and tell people all about our podcast.
I'm so excited about this because you essentially set up that website in 10 minutes. And
I have no special skills or abilities.
I know, and you were able to like hook up the domain, like do the redirects. I'm so proud of you. All of that with no tech abilities. So thank you, Squarespace. And
Thank you, Anne.
thank you, Anne. And you know, the other great thing is that Squarespace offers 24/7 customer support. So everybody on the customer care team is an experienced Squarespace user, and they can help you with anything that you need. So why not?
If you need a personal website, if you have a podcast you're trying to promote, if you're trying to sell something online, Squarespace is a great answer for you. You can start a free trial today at squarespace.com and enter code GIRLFRIEND to get 10% off your first purchase.
Squarespace, set your website apart.
Okay, should we do a rapid fire
What
round?
the heart wants. Yeah, rapid fire round. So since we haven't really talked in a couple of weeks, I guess we've missed a lot of stuff on the internet.
Internet news.
I know, and people keep emailing us and tweeting us about it. We're sorry. We've been busy with life. But maybe we have opinions about some of these things.
Okay, we're gonna do a rapid fire round, and we each get what, one sentence?
Sure.
Okay, Gone Girl.
Not enough Affleck peen.
Probably not misogynist.
Whoa, deep. Basic bitches.
Bored. Next.
Oh my god, I'm so bored. Next. Douchebag is a racial slur. Whoa, that's deep.
Correct.
Ebola.
Not my problem. Not your problem.
Yeah, not my problem. Good luck, America.
This is really just the douchebag rapid fire round. Like, we
I
are.
know. What else did we miss? Oh, Gian Gomeshi.
Leather wrist cuff shoulda known.
I don't know. I don't care about Canadian problems. We have our own problems.
I don't know. I feel like we're a
that was
little
way
flip
harsh.
about both Ebola and
Okay,
scandal
fine.
of violence
Let's-
against women, but
Fine. We can break down Ebola for 2 seconds. I cannot be flip about Ebola because Ebola Ground Zero, aka Guinea, is my home country. Every time I see, there's always like a picture of the hospital I was born in, and they're like, here's where all the Ebola people are dying right now. So obviously, like, I feel it on a deep level. I don't understand American hysteria about Ebola. I think that it is crazy and really condescending, honestly. And that nurse in Maine is my fucking hero. I want to send her a gift basket because she like does not give a shit.
can we talk about,
She's like,
is she angling for a reality show? I was kind of like, maybe she's
I don't know, but I hope they give it to her. She is like she's so real. She like went on a bicycle ride and she's like, don't quarantine me, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she sues everybody.
But you know,
she's the best.
maybe this is just the super chill Californian in me, but I'm like, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to stay home and watch Netflix for a week. Like,
And it absolutely does, first of all. I think that is really flip.
I mean, I get it
And
on principle.
also-
I get her principles. I understand. But
I don't know. I think that it's more than the principle. I think that, like, that whole decision was made with, like, very little, like, truth to science. And also, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a person of color, but, like, quarantine is, like, a scary thing.
No, I know.
It's like that, it's like they do that, and then you have, like, camps where they, like, stick you in. It's not cool. Also, like, fuck Chris Christie. So there's that.
Right. That is something that everybody can agree on.
Yes. And then Gian Gomeshi, clearly, like, a very serious problem. The culture of silence around him was, like, actually, that was really shocking to me. Like, every day, all these people were like, oh, we knew. And I was like, well, that's crazy how everybody knew, yet nobody said anything.
Well, so what's interesting...
Very uncomfortable truth.
Did you read the Slate article that Carl Wilson wrote about knowing about Gian Gomeshi as a man in the Canadian media scene?
Literally, like, Slate is the last thing I read every day, so probably not.
I read it because someone posted it somewhere. But anyway, you don't really need the blow-by-blow of the articles so much to say as, like... It really did strike me as something that I wouldn't have clear advice on. So he was like, okay, well, women I know and respect in media were like, he's a real creep, but no one who was close to me had ever made an allegation of, like, violence or abuse. I hadn't heard about that directly, just kind of like this ongoing thing about him being not a good guy. And I still continued to go on his show and still continued to, like, play nice with him, and I feel kind of bad about that. But I don't know if I'd do it any differently. And it made me think of a woman I know who is a journalist. I read a book of hers in which she mentioned a harassment incident by another male journalist, and that male journalist is one of the people who blurbed her book. So obviously, like, he read it about himself, and she never called him out. And I don't know, I was just kind of struck by, like, the notion of... well, what do you do differently if you're not a person with the power or evidence to make a direct allegation? Like, it takes a lot of... It takes a whole lot of faith in essentially, like, rumor, even if you have heard it from several women, to to take a professional risk and cut that person out of your life directly. It was yet another confirmation of why these things just go on forever and ever and stay secret.
Well, I guess in this case there was that, right? And I agree that like on an intrapersonal level that's crazy. But like I had read that I forget what university was in Canada, like restricted their students from going on his internship. Like, I'm sorry, that you know, like they should have said something to the CBC, or I hope they said something to the CBC. And if the CBC didn't act on it, then like that's crazy,
right,
you know.
Right.
Or the multiple interns, or at least one intern who was like, I talked to a manager here, and he said this isn't going to change. How do we accommodate you?
Right.
You know,
be
so
malleable.
I don't think that it is.
That's the quote.
I don't think that it's as simple as saying that it's like an interpersonal situation is what happened here. I think that a lot of times, and it almost always happens this way, right? It's like, yes, like you hear all of these rumors, but they at least impact like one person in the workplace. And I think that if you work there, or if you're somebody who's in professional contact with them, you kind of have a duty to say something, you know, like to say something. I obviously, like, this is really simple since I'm removed from it. But I think that that's nuts, you know, like saying like, oh, maybe let's not place our interns there. Or there was this other thing about how at NYU they asked him to like switch dorms or whatever because like since his college days he was problematic. And I was like, this is kind of like this. It's like years and years and years of preying on like young women.
Right. But it's also interesting. So to put it in what is a very real life dilemma for me. So I don't personally know any people in my professional circle who, to my knowledge, have been like outright abusive to women, or, you know, committing the kinds of assault that he's accused of committing. But I do know like a lot of creeps who I've written about sort of in passing, or like describing certain attributes but not naming names. And so like by that token, do I have an obligation to name every harasser that I know in media?
I mean, probably, but also you're kind of on your own there, right?
Well, no, I mean, I'm actually curious about, you know.
No, I mean, I think that, like, obviously I'm sorry that I was, like, kind of flip about it. But I think about this a lot, too, and obviously, like, we don't have a good answer for this. It's why, it's like my biggest frustration with like sexual harassment, you know, because it's so within the frame of you work somewhere, but there's no, like, we have no other framework for just like giving somebody a yellow card for, hi, your behavior is problematic.
Right. Well, because it only works if there's a group of people. I mean, it's one thing for me to be like, to try to name and shame someone, but that doesn't really have any consequence unless people as an industry rally around and are like, oh, I've heard what Anne's heard, and I'm going to support what she says because I've heard the same thing. And, you know, that's exactly the kind of thing that gets labeled an unfounded witch hunt.
No, totally. And it is really problematic that a lot of it is just, you know, it's like we're dealing in a ton of rumors and innuendo, and it's really unfortunate because even in the early news cycle, everybody was like, why aren't these women speaking up? Why aren't they speaking up? And I was like, well, like, if you're a woman, you have very good reasons not to speak up about the kind of abuse that you receive. But it's really disheartening to hear how people automatically, like, don't want to believe you if you're a woman, right. If you know, like, you don't go to the police, like, say to the police to talk about these issues.
Right. And I think that one thing that gave people a lot of cover in this case, particularly people who were not on the receiving end of his violence or abuse or harassment. I'm talking about, you know, people who heard secondhand stories about it. Is them saying, well, I don't have anything I could take to police. Like I can't be the one to go to police. The police.
No, totally. You know, the other thing too is, man, journalism is full of creeps. It's like when I think of like the top 10 creeps I know, they're all writers somehow.
I mean, egos, creeps with egos.
No, totally. I mean, it's like, it's a lot of things. But the thing too is that I think about a lot of the like creeps when I was like a baby, like 23-year-old, like new on the work scene, and how some of those creeps are kind of reformed now.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like I.e. they're married. I think that that's like, you know my like long-standing theory on the civilizing love of a woman. But it's this thing that's like really interesting, right? Is like I was in DC last week, and one dude that was definitely like one of my most problematic, like borderline harassers. you know, like, I don't know what his deal is now, but it was really interesting to, like, watch him in a professional context now and be like, oh, you were really immature and you're a little more mature now. But also, like, who knows? Maybe he's, like, a closet, like, murderer. I have no clue.
Ah, don't say that.
I don't know, and men are ridiculous human beings.
This is what we get for trying to deal with a complex and troubling issue in a rapid fire.
I know, we, like, not allowed to talk about
We're
this.
not.
Like, one thing that really struck me about a lot of the women in this story, like, at least the journalist, is just how insidious and just, like, what a predator he was, you know, because everybody comes to him from this place of admiration and just, you know, like, it's good to have somebody that you think is important pay attention to you. And I realized that for me, that's such a wall that I've always had because I, like, don't trust people that I think have, like, good professional esteem, which is just, is, like, also comes with its, like, own sets of problems. Yeah. It's just, just, like, what, they just ruin it for everyone. It really sucks.
I also feel like this is going to be, like, a weird kind of circuitous argument in a way, but I also think it's kind of an endorsement of shine theory. Like, this notion of, oh, I'm with someone who, like, being next to them is really great because I'm not so great, like, is it's not, like, on co-equal footing. I mean, it's weird. I don't want to say don't have any heroes because obviously we all admire,
like, build
people.
your own power.
Right, exactly. and you know, and clearly, like, you know, he was right that he was more powerful and than a lot of the women who eventually came forward, for sure. But, you know, part of how men like that, you know, use their powers, I think you're right. They're like, oh, I'm a big fucking deal.
Yeah. No, fuck that guy.
Okay.
Just the worst. Okay, that was really heavy. Lesson learned. Don't we can't be flip about things. Just for that, I'm gonna reward us with some listener questions.
Great.
And then maybe that'll take the edge off.
Great.
Who
Hit
knows?
us. Pick a light one.
Okay. Thanks for putting on such a great show. I have a question for you. In terms of dating, I want to make clear to men that I'm only interested in dating them if they have an iPhone. However, I don't want people to think I'm shallow. What do you think is the best way to handle this?
Don't be shallow.
Don't be shallow. I don't think I've ever noticed what somebody's phone was. Okay.
But also,
sorry.
for real, in my
Sorry,
Android
listener,
days,
is
you
somebody
threatened to
trolling
defriend
us?
me.
I think so. Oh yeah, it's true. I also remember when you went through a phase of, like, I'm getting an Android, and I, like, laughed so hard.
Wow, so
Like,
this is a
girl.
real pot kettle situation here, isn't it?
I mean, it's true. I was like, yo, you can't work an iPhone. Android's gonna be interesting.
Wait, sorry, you think this person is trolling us?
I think this person is trolling us. I'm convinced this is somebody we know who's trolling us. That's ridiculous. Sorry, if you're not trolling us, I'm sorry. Get over your phone thing. Okay. Another short one. I was wondering if you could run through some of your favorite podcasts in a future episode. Alternatively, if you'd like to publish 20 times more podcasts, this would also help. Man, getting called out. Preferably something less obvious than This American Life. Man, so I obviously love This American Life. No shade. But other podcasts I'm really into. In this family, we love The Read. The Read is good. I really like 99% Invisible for design. I'm obsessed with, like, Serial right now. Completely, like, my entire life is consumed. If I could take a leave of absence from work so I could keep being a detective, that's where all of my energy is going.
I mean, before we recorded, we turned on the microphones to record this. Amina confessed that she was, like, subpoenaing court orders and, like, calling about cell towers, and
I just, it makes me regret not going to law school. But shout out to all my lawyer friends that have been very understanding in this hard period in my life.
oh my god. Obviously I listen to many of those podcasts, but I also want to put in a plug for Down for Whatever, which is a podcast by our friend Maisha Battle, who is like a sexademic and talks to various people and types of sex workers and experts about their sex lives and various sexy topics. And she is great.
Oh, and also a plug for The Broad Experience. This like great British podcast about being a boss lady. It's great.
Yeah, I love it. And of course our bros at the Long Form podcast.
Yeah,
always.
Long Form, Death, Sex, and Money. You know, I feel like I listen to a lot of podcasts. On Being, Splendid Table, Hardcore History.
Splendid Table, for real?
I listen to Splendid Table. You can't make fun of me for that.
I'm
Please.
not. I'm not.
I need you to listen to one episode of Hardcore History, though. Hardcore History is my favorite thing in the entire world.
I tried to listen to Genghis Khan, and I didn't make it very far.
I mean, one, you were probably not stoned enough, and two, you got to clear out like 4 hours of your day.
Okay, what do you do while listening to the hardcore history of Genghis Khan? Like, what is the appropriate activity
you
while
like
listening?
deep clean your entire house. Like, my house is spotless. Yeah, but I also listen to a ton of like management podcasts. So like the Harvard Business Review Idea Cast, like secret favorites. So
wow. All right, what else we got? What else is on our list? I have a This Week in Menstruation.
Tell me your insane menstruation news today.
Well, I did a quick Google search in the news section for menstruation, which I enjoy doing from time to time. And it turns out the World Boxing Council, which is a thing, has decided to limit the length of women's bouts, in part due to the fact that women have periods. But here's the thing. You think it's going to be like, oh, the poor women will not be able to handle this pummeling. And here's the quote. It says, quote, menstrual cycle has tremendous impact on the body of a woman, including 12 hormones which act in the body system, creating radical changes in several areas. Which to me sounds like you have superhuman strength and cannot be trusted not to pummel your opponent.
Yeah, you're basically like hulking out and just like punching. It's like you punch the shit out of someone and then you just like period everywhere on the carpet. And then they're like, next bout.
Rage-induced advantage.
Shout out to lady boxers. If we know any women who are boxers, please get at me. I have many things I want to understand.
Right. Also, can you confirm the hormone surge is an advantage when boxing?
I feel like hormone surge is an advantage for everything except for probably snacking.
Ooh, interesting question. Definitely it's got to be a sex asset. It's got to be like a competitive edge.
You just destroy people. I guess this brings us to the end, huh?
This is the end. All right. You can find us on the internet at callyourgirlfriend.com. Send us an email